for 3 days. It was on Modern Slavery Act and how it impacts on us as barristers and also in society and in law. So the inns are very valuable. You'll also need to do your sessions and dinings with them as well. I believe it's 12 times from my recollection, but I really enjoyed it, and obviously enjoyed the fine dining, and the food was great as well.
Right, yeah.
I can't leave that bit out.
So I think the next question.
I was just going to add as well, we've not had that experience this year because of COVID. We've had our qualifying sessions virtually, but that's what
I mean. That is absolutely a real shame, because when I look back, I mean, it literally is the highlight for me of the course. I mean, those sessions were just fantastic. You know, you'd dress up, you'd walk down Chancery Lane, you go into the inns, and it was that feeling of I'm on my way to being a barrister, which I think is really important. And it's a real shame. And I don't want to put a downer on it for you, but I do think it's a real shame that during the current climate that those aspects are lost, because it is very important to actually feel part of it all.
I agree with that. And I think in terms of networking as well, we're at a disadvantage, if anything, because we're not meeting these people in real life. We're just behind the camera. We obviously, I'm part of Inner Temple as well, and I actually applied to the pupillage weekend in May because that is the only one that might be face to face. So I'm really hoping that it will be, because that would be great to experience that. So the next question, I'll direct this to Nathan. So the average salary for a criminal barrister, and is it true that it increases over the years of practice?
Gosh, money. Look, increases over, well, no, well, it only increases insofar as how good you are, really. I mean, I'm going to be blunt about it. If you're good, you'll be busy. If you're good, you'll have solicitors of your own that will instruct you, and you will have solicitors that come through chambers, through the clerks. Historically, criminal law, you used to make really good money, very good money, in fact. Now, very difficult. But then I guess the question then is why are you doing it? Are you in it just for the money, or is it because you genuinely love doing law and criminal law? I personally love doing criminal law, and I know I do family, and family admittedly is really good money. But I would never, ever give up my criminal practice, because for me, there's nothing better than jury advocacy. It's for me the best form of advocacy that you can do as a barrister. Admittedly, I don't do as many trials as I used to now. I just do 1 to 2 trials per year in crime, and the rest I do family. And that's also to give me some respite so I can get away from family, because it can become emotionally draining at times. And then I miss criminal law. I miss arguing, because you argue in a different way in family as opposed to criminal law. And criminal law clients are really funny as well. So yeah, the money can be very difficult. The money is not banded when you're at the self-employed bar. If you're at the employed bar, CPS, then I think it is banded based on your grade, and it's graded. And so you may well be banded as to how much you can earn at a particular time. But if you're at the bar, at the self-employed bar, then it's all dependent on your ability to work. If you stay in bed all day, you're not going to make any money. If you get out of bed every day, you'll make some money.
Okay, next question. So when picking a subject that you want to specialize as a barrister, do you have to do only one area of law or more than one? I think Nathan pretty much answered that because he does both family and crime. Looking at pupillage applications at the moment, for me anyway, I'm interested in, like I said, employment law, human rights, personal injury, things like that. So the chambers that I'm looking at, I'm hoping that they specialize in at least one or more of these areas, so then I can at least have the opportunity to practice in any of those areas that I want to, basically. But does anybody want to say anything to that?
What I will say is that there's nothing wrong in being what one might say a jack of all trades, but a master of none, because it's good to bring different skill sets across. So I've got skill sets in crime that I bring over to family that people in family don't have. I also have skill sets in family law, which I can bring over to crime, and that can help. So there's nothing wrong in being multi-dimensional. What you need to ensure you do is that when you're applying to sets, you need to tailor your aspirations, your ambitions to that particular set. There's no point in applying to, say, I don't know, Doughty Street Chambers if you want to go off and do chancery, do tax, and do other areas that they don't do. But if you're a keen human rights barrister, if you're quite keen on public law, if you're quite keen on family, and that set does that, then make your applications to them. So I think it takes a very basic exercise. Go online, look at what they do, and make sure that they cover your areas. But I'm actually a huge fan of having interest in different areas of law. But of course, with that brings its own challenges, because you need to stay on top of those areas as well, especially if you're practicing them.
Does anybody else want to respond to that question? No? That's fine. So how do you decide if you want to become a solicitor versus a barrister? Sarah, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I actually wanted to say something regarding that question. I forgot to mention that I actually did the LPC after I finished the LLM, because I was so lost, and everybody was saying, yeah, the LPC is so much easier compared to the bar. So, you know, just do that as a backup plan. And if you ever think that you could do the bar, which everybody was saying I couldn't, so I can just have that as a backup. So I did the LPC. I didn't finish the LPC. I started the LPC, and I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely hated it. It was something I knew that I didn't want to do. This similar to Nathan is. I knew I didn't want to become a solicitor. It was just something I thought, you know what, everybody's saying it's easier, and you know, it's good to have a backup plan. And also, it was good for me to experience what I was getting myself into, because I was speaking to the girls yesterday, and I was saying you can't force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. So even if you want to become a barrister, you need to know exactly why you want to do it, okay? Because this is your career. You're going to be doing this day in and day out. So to decide whether you want to become a solicitor or a barrister, you need to have exposure to both. Like I worked at chambers. I volunteered actually at law chambers for 1 year. I didn't get paid nothing. I didn't get even paid lunch money. Okay, but there were solicitors there, there was barristers there, and it gave me a complete exposure and insight into what type of work the solicitors do and what type of work barristers do. And I shadowed both. So with the solicitors, you're always sitting at the desk, you're meeting clients, you're preparing the paperwork, getting all the evidence together. Whereas the barrister picks up the case, great, let's go to court. And I knew I can't sit at the desk, I can't do it. So I like to speak. I'm similar to Nathan. I like the attention. Look at me, listen to me. You know, I like that. And similar with Chilly, I like acting as well. So it relates to it. You have to show this is something you love, and that energy will pass through at the pupillage interview or at the bar interview. If you want it, you can prove it to them, and you'll get whatever you want.
Can I just say one final thing before I go, Benedict? Because I'm literally going to keel over with hunger if I don't eat something today, because I've eaten nothing. But the one thing I would say is the real advantage that I had over, and I'll call them my competitors, because you are all competing against one another. The real advantage I had is that because I had worked in-house with solicitors, I was able to say to prospective employers, oh, I've got so-and-so that will instruct me and give me work if you take me on. And that's really attractive, because then Chambers knows that you're not just relying upon their work, you've got your own work. And if I'm honest with you now, in terms of my family work, 90% of it probably is my own work in terms of my own solicitors. So if I woke up tomorrow and said, I'm leaving my set of chambers to Dr. Johnson's chambers, I could do so knowing that I still got 90% of my work, and solicitors will follow me. So I think there's a real advantage to working in-house, doing some paralegal work, legal assistant, is that it's your opportunity to almost nick some solicitors and put them into your pocket and bring them with you when you actually go onto the other side and practice as a barrister.
Before you go, Nathan, there's just some questions that I think are relevant to you yourself only. So I just wanted you to answer some questions. Is that okay?
Sure, go on.
This one says, I want to become a family lawyer. I'm third year student. They have family law solicitor as their mentor. What would you recommend they expect from their mentor? So what can they expect basically from this family law solicitor? And
well, I think family law is a very wide area. So I think you need to speak to them around what your interests are in terms of family law. Are you looking at matrimonial and finance, divorce, or are you looking at children? If you're looking at children, are you looking at public law children, or are you looking at private law children? So I think you need to ask those questions, speak to them about life on a daily basis, how it is for you, for them, and then really do that assessment. You know, look at your own personal circumstances, your own likes and dislikes, and see how that fits in. Look, when you've got a mentor, when you've got someone over you, literally ask them every single question, drain them, because you know that's what they're there for. To be honest with you, so yeah, I would certainly just ask the questions that you feel are relevant, and there's no such thing as a stupid question, because you know if you feel you need to ask it, then that's probably what you should do.
So I want to specialize in criminal law. How do I know I am good at it?
With criminal law, there's a tenacity that you need, and in some ways it's natural. If I'm honest with you, it's instinctive, especially if you're defending, because defending is hard. Even though the burden of proving the case is on the prosecution, their case is very much quite simple because they just read out statements from the complainant. But defending is more difficult in my view, and I think again you just need to see what you like and what you dislike. And I just remember as a kid just watching films, you know, defense films, and I just thought it was all great. I mean, in England you don't approach the judge or ask to approach the jury, but it was that tenacity, that thrill, that factor, especially the buzz as well if you get your client off. So I think again it's just your personal preference. You really need to ask yourself personal questions, but I do think in many ways criminal law, it is very innate and natural.
How much experience did you have in family to secure pupillage in a family set, and what should that experience look like? Well,
as I said, in 3 years I worked for Haringey Legal Services as a legal assistant. That initially was a 3-month agency contract when I was paid by the hour, and then you know they would say I was so good that they renewed it every time. They offered me, I should tell you this, in fact, they offered me a permanent position, because then at that point in local government I was too costly and expensive to them. I think I was like £22 an hour, because of course they'd have to pay my agency and then I would get my cut of money. So they offered me a permanent position. Well, I was earning less money, and of course I had benefits like holiday pay, sick pay, and all those other benefits that I didn't have before. So did I take that offer, or did I say no? I've got my eye on one goal and aim, and that's to be a barrister and go off to the bar. I didn't take it, and they conducted interviews, and they took one other person on, but they still kept me on. So therein is a risk I took, because I could have been out of a job, because as I said, I was costing them too much money. So I think it's important that you pick good experiences to help you. You know, mini pupillages are really good. As I said, I'm doing a 4-day case this week. I've got a mini pupil with me for the next 4 days. She was with me today, and she approached me on Instagram, and I was able to, you know, put her through the process, and she's been following me. And so things like that, marshalling as well. You could still do it online. I know it's nothing beats in person, being with a judge and sitting beside the judge and seeing it from the judge's perspective, but nevertheless, it's still the experience there. And then networking, you have to put yourself out there. People need to know who you are. If they don't know who you are, if they don't know what skills you have, then people won't refer you and make recommendations for you. So those are just some of the things that I would say you should do. And obviously, if it's family law you enjoy, go into family firms, call them, send them emails.